Hi, my name is Robert Hull and I'm a producer with the 700 Club. This DVD contains a collection of stories that I've produced over the last couple of years. I hope that you'll enjoy these stories and I hope that you'll be inspired by them. Thanks for watching.
They only let me out of the room to be interrogated, which was once a day or sometimes not at all. And then they would lead me down this hallway and take me into the interrogation room, which was an ugly room. It had blood stains on the floor, very dark and murky. It was definitely the most terrifying part of the whole experience. The beatings would start and it would be slapping in the face, hitting in the stomach, sometimes kicking. I struggled with faith. Was God with me? Did he love me? If God's good, why would he allow me through the situation?
By the time he was a teenager, Danny had exchanged heroin delivery for heroin addiction.
Once I got addicted, probably about the age of 19, I got strung out and then boom, I just lost it all. That replaced my first love, which was baseball. It replaced everything in my life.
That was the worst storm I'd seen. I had seen other storms. The problem with this one was that the wind built and then shifted.
Dennis battled the elements for 4 days.
It's getting dark, and I'm looking up, and I have to tell you, I had never seen conditions like this in my entire life.
Within a few hours, a Coast Guard helicopter dropped a rescue diver into the water. He pulled Dennis into the basket, and then he hoisted him into the chopper. He was taken to the USS Eisenhower, where Navy doctors treated him.
Corruption is deep within me. I think at the rate I was going, I could have wound up killing somebody.
Robert and his partners administered their own form of street justice.
Bribed someone Monday, you had sex with someone unwarranted Tuesday, you were transporting drugs Wednesday, you were protecting drug addicts Thursday. Well, even Internal Affairs has to make a move.
Complaints against him piled up. Internal Affairs set up surveillance and caught Robert breaking the laws he was sworn to protect.
I was looking at 30 years in Angola.
Coming out! Coming out!
Julie Papiavis was in a car accident that left her in the balance between life and death. As she was driving away from a shopping mall, a teen driver ran a red light, plowing into her at 50 miles an hour. The impact jarred her head and neck, severely injuring her brainstem. Her body instantly began dying. Within minutes, the fire department arrived and pulled her from the wreckage. They were unable to detect a pulse or blood pressure.
I was convinced that there was no way to live a completely happy life. And if I couldn't live happy, I didn't want to live at all. It began with a divorce, a broken home. And I believe that through that, my mentality began to form and began to develop a sense of rejection. What is wrong with me? And so I believe that the only answer for me was to end my life. I walked to my mother's room thinking I don't want anyone to see me because I'm so determined to end my life, to end the void, to end the suffering, to end the loneliness, that nothing was going to stop me. I began crying out and I began screaming out to God, God, forgive me. And the gun went off.
I married somebody that was just like my father. Every day he was telling me, you know, I was stupid, I was ugly, I wasn't good enough. I didn't feel like I was worthy of being loved by anyone.
She moved with her kids to a women's shelter to escape the violence. but her husband challenged her for custody.
But on his way to America, he was imprisoned in Bangladesh for having illegal travel documents. In prison, he became an Islamic leader and taught in the mosque.
That opened the way for me to be able to share about the Quran, the teachings of the Quran, the Hadith, which are the teachings of Islam and the Prophet Muhammad.
So we're driving in, we noticed people running towards us, so we had to stop the vehicle exactly where we were. Our thing was to get those people to safety, and we got them into the truck and got them out of the area.
That his wing of the Pentagon was the terrorist's next target.
Boom. The building shook. I mean, it's almost as though that building was on an earthquake line. It literally shook. People were down, people were screaming, people were hurt. If you were standing up and in that fireball, you died. People would just disintegrate.
Terrorists had crashed American Airlines Flight 77.
When the first big biker on a loud Harley-Davidson pulled up, I looked up at him and I said, that's what I want to be right there. As a child, I knew it.
Billy Rivers' love for motorcycles started when he was a boy. His drug use started shortly after that. By the time he was 17, he traded normal teenage dreams for motorcycle gangs and a needle full of heroin.
I didn't smell good. I didn't look good. It was just a horrible sight. I can remember that. Crazy thing how the drug can hide you from reality to where you really don't take notice to how you really are.
When I got hit, I flew up on the windshield. I flew 130 feet in the air. The next thing I know, I'm in the middle of the road trying to get up. There was a bunch of people around me telling me to stay down, and I didn't understand why they were telling me to stay down. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I was trying to get up, but I kept falling.
Jason was rushed to the emergency room.
The high from crack cocaine literally lasts just a few seconds. We give all that, we just surrender all that for just that few seconds of euphoria, and then it's gone. And then it's just working, manipulating, lying, cheating, stealing, whatever it takes to get that next few seconds. And it's really just an awful lifestyle.
Jeffrey had developed diverticulitis, a painful condition that attacks the intestinal wall. Months of natural treatments had failed, and his condition had become so advanced he needed surgery to remove part of his intestine.
I was one of the largest producers of online pornography in the country. I had 1.3 million registered images, staggering number, and we had thousands and thousands of hours of video. I was alone, and I needed something.
He drove to a Christian camp he attended as a young man. That night, they gave an altar call, and Jeff was one of the first to come forward. He prayed and asked God to forgive his sins and give him a new start.
I don't know if this God thing is going to work.
When I swerved to get out of the way of the vehicle, that's when my vehicle started to flip. I was thrown out of the vehicle, but my best friend told me that after the vehicle stopped rolling, he had to kick his way out of the passenger side door. He finally found me about 20 to 30 feet out into the woods on the side of the road, and he told me that when he found me, I was covered in blood, and he told me he wouldn't even touch me because he knew that I had been severely injured.
Broderick spent the next 30 days in the intensive care unit of an Atlanta hospital. He was paralyzed from the chest down.
Dipping under pressures and eating out of garbage can.
Rehab centers would get him clean long enough to reclaim his family, but crack always called him back to the streets.
It was like a revolver's door to me, in and out.
I don't know what to think. I don't know what to feel. You just try to get through it.
Kelly's nightmare continued for hours into the night.
But in a bizarre twist, they stopped to pick up the driver's wife from work. With the wife at the wheel, they drove past the location where Kelly had been abducted. The police were already on the scene.
Chad and his roommates ran to the back of the house and broke out an elevated first-floor window with hopes that they could save Petey. Smoke billowed out.
We felt like it was kind of our duty to do something because the grandmother, she was elderly and she can't really, and the dad was hurt.
Chad called 911 on his cell phone. Within an hour, emergency personnel located them in the dark Texas night and pulled them from the wreckage. They were medevac to a hospital in Odessa, where Chelsea was placed in the ICU in a coma.
As the tornado approached, David darted off the trail and wrapped himself around the base of a nearby tree.
As soon as I saw the debris, I began to hear the forest explode above me. The sound of the trees crashing was just unbelievable.
As the tornado passed, David scrambled over the debris and made his way up toward the street. The reality of what just happened began to sink in.
It looked like a nuclear bomb had gone off. Just